Soft Butch, Dianna Agron. Mask, Dianna Agron. Lesbian detective, Dianna Agron. Take my money, take all of my money, take my firstborn child who doesn't exist. Thanks to lesbianism, God has smiled upon me this day. I'm really sorry I've been absent, but I'm back now outside your window at 3 a.m. with a boombox. Please take me back, I'm a changed woman. Lesbians, please don't ever leave me. I love you and I mean that in a weird parasocial way, okay? Please don't leave me, you are all I have. I love you, we can all be Mormons together. I do feel really guilty when I neglect the channel, although I don't neglect it on purpose. It's just if I'm working on a project or if I'm crying, I can't be here, you know? I did explain that to people. Can we just take a moment to appreciate the reviews on Letterboxd for this film? These reviews look like they were written by me from various secret accounts that I have. And they were. It's either that or apparently sapphic women. We all share a hive mind. And that is thirsting over Dianna Agron. Some of us need to get new identities, probably me. Well, kids, I've finally done it. I've consumed every single piece of lesbian Dianna Agron content in existence. The ritual is complete and the portal has been opened. Or I just feel accomplished. You know, I've accomplished something in my long, sad, but not that sad when you think about all that's going on in the universe and, you know, there are some terrible things happening, so really it's not that sad life. Unsubscribing is an option, yes, okay. Hi guys, welcome to a video, and in today's video I'm just going to be reviewing the 2017 film Hollow in the Land. I asked my members over on Ko-Fi if they had any suggestions for, you know, things they wanted me to review, and this film was suggested. Oh my god, there's a perk to the membership. Stop the presses. And I think it's only right that I review this film since I've reviewed literally every single other piece of sapphic Dianna Agron content in existence so far. This video completes the collection quite nicely. I haven't even had a coffee today. It's just like this, completely drug-free. If you're not familiar with Hollow in the Land, it follows the character of Allison and her troubled younger brother Brandon, who goes missing after his girlfriend's father is found murdered. Allison sets out to find Brandon and figure out who the real killer is before it's too late. As a heads up, this video will contain spoilers, so if you have not seen this film, you have been warned. Now let's get into it. First things first, we need to discuss how Allison was serving Alex Owens in Flashdance, because that is very relevant to not only my interests, but to the interests of the entire lesbian community, I feel. There's something about women working in male-dominated professions that just appeals to me, not only as a lesbian, but as an evil feminist. I found it hot. Here's the thing, Dianna Agron was made by the universe for the role of moody lesbian. Like, that is what she gives in every single character that she plays, regardless of who the character is supposed to be. So somebody finally saw the potential with her specific skill set and grabbed it with both hands for this film. I also felt like Allison was very much serving season 3 Shane from the L Word, with the whole kind of moody beer drinking and moping around with her hood up and a chip on her shoulder, like she's a troubled youth. And again, I enjoyed it for personal, professional, religious, scientific reasons. I have to say, the highlight of this film for me may just have been Allison wearing a beanie and, you know, cooling another woman up because she wanted the V. I don't understand how this film wasn't nominated for an Oscar with that kind of artistry, you know? Another fun lesbian observation about this film is that Allison was also also serving Sid from Narcissa with the whole kind of like outlaw situation. Like I said, it's like all of Dianna's characters just kind of merge together. She's just made of multiple lesbian characters who come together to form one gigantic lesbian character. She's a living, breathing crystal gem. Somebody get Rebecca Sugar on the phone right now. Anyway, moving on to what I liked about this film outside of the Dianna Agron lesbian cinematic universe. So, one of the first things I noticed about Hollow in the Land is that it did a good job of utilising colour and tone through its mise-en-scène to create and complement the overall oppressive atmosphere of the film. For example, the muted clothing, the concrete, the grey skies, the pulp mill and the smoke all work together to give the film a cohesive gritty palette, which shaped and enhanced both characterization and narrative. Alongside this, the cinematography was also incredibly thoughtful, and it's clear that a lot of care was taken with the visual storytelling in this film. Again, a lot of the props, the scenery and so on were intelligently utilized to form tone, enrich what was physically unfolding on screen, and to provide additional clues and commentary as to what the characters were thinking and feeling. The performances in Hollow in the Land were also pretty solid across the board. There really wasn't one weak link in the entire cast, which is another positive aspect of the film. I have to say, the cast pretty much perfectly embodied the roles of the characters in this film, and I've said this before, but Dianna Agron has such a natural introspective demeanour that she's always able to fall back on that in her acting, and as a result, her performances usually always contain a layer of profundity and nuance, no matter what. I have to say, the visuals in this film reminded me a little bit of Twilight. The Twilight series is quite visually beautiful in places. I mean, I know it's Twilight. I really love Twilight. I don't care. Oh my god. I mean, it's extra shameful because I'm a lesbian and, you know, I've got no reason. Anyway, we're getting off topic. Another thing I loved about this film is the writing for the female protagonist, Allison. It was super refreshing to have a female character who didn't just exist to benefit or further the development of a male character, and who wasn't curated for the male gaze. I also really appreciated that the romance aspect was just one part of her story and not all of it. And for a female character and a lesbian character that was written by a man, I have to give credit where credit is due, because Allison is really well written. This film is largely bullshit free, and that kind of role is not a role that comes along very often for women in cinema. I mean, even today. The other refreshing aspect of Allison's character is that she's a lesbian, but her lesbianism isn't the focal point of the film. And for the most part, it's normalized. I mean, she does get some mild homophobic abuse because she's living in, you know, a small town. But again, for the most part, it's a non-issue, which allows the film to explore other aspects of her character and allows her to take part in a narrative which isn't tied to her sexuality. And this is another really refreshing aspect of this film, because usually when you have a lesbian character in a film, their entire narrative revolves around either their sexuality or some kind of romantic affair, and in Hollow in the Land, Allison's narrative revolves around her relationship with her brother and trying to clear his name. And what's interesting is Allison is very much kind of othered in this small town, but it's not related to her sexuality, it's related to the fact that her father has committed this crime and left a black mark on her and her brother, which provided a fresh angle to the familiar cliche of otherness in lesbian characters. And as a lesbian bonus, Allison also finds sanctuary with a drug-dealing lesbian couple who help her heal and make her soup after she's been shot. God, I wish that were me. Minus the being shot. There's definitely some deeper commentary there about a lesbian finding sanctuary and healing with other lesbians within an oppressive heteronormative society. Poetic cinema. if you will. I have no idea if that was the actual intention, but I am reading into it as though it is. So again, Hollow in the Land is unique in terms of its lesbian representation as well as its female representation, which is another huge plus about this film. Speaking of lesbianism, that shower scene was perhaps the best 60 seconds of my life so far. The shoulder kiss may have added a day or two onto my lifespan. It may have made me immortal. Only time will tell. Hollow in the Land is interesting in that there's the inclusion of a lesbian relationship, but there's nothing explicit or exploitative about it, and I actually liked how subtle and tasteful the intimacy between Alison and Charlene was throughout the film. There was no mistaking the romantic connection between the two of them. It wasn't cowardly subtext, but at the same time, their intimacy wasn't made into a spectacle and it wasn't fetishized, which does often happen in lesbian cinema, particularly in lesbian cinema created by men. And despite the brevity of their intimacy, I found the shower scene to be quite a powerful moment which effectively portrayed the depth of their connection. I mean, it is also like a fairly messy situation. Alison is dating her brother's girlfriend's mum. It's set in a small town and lesbians are addicted to the drama. So what are you gonna do? As for the overarching narrative and murder mystery element, I did guess that the killer was a cop from very early on. It seemed obvious, but at the same time, it's one of those things where it's so obvious that you're not sure if it's too obvious and therefore a red herring. But yes, these types of films usually have a formula, and I think Hollow in the Land is fairly conventional in that sense. It's certainly not a groundbreaking piece of cinema in terms of the murder mystery, crime drama, thriller genres. Lots of hyphens there squished together to make one genre, okay. But because of its unique portrayal of a female protagonist and the refreshing lesbian elements, Hollow in the Land stands out from a lot of other productions in that same genre or in those same genres. Despite that, on a technical level, I think overall the film is just fine. As I said earlier, I definitely appreciate the film's cohesive visual qualities, and I have to say it also does a really good job of building tension and creating an oppressive, hostile environment in which Alison is trying to survive. You really do get the feeling that she's swimming around in a shark tank, and the film just captures all of that kind of tension and hostility and, you know, grittiness just perfectly. I think in terms of pacing, the film would have benefited from being tightened up slightly, especially around the middle, because it did feel quite lethargic in places, but I also appreciate that they were trying to capture and reflect mood. So the more lethargic moments may have been connected to that. And it does pick up towards the end, as is standard in these types of films. They save all of the high drama and action for the very last moments. So the pacing being slightly lethargic in places is a very minor criticism. I think the only thing that irked me about this film is that Alison kept touching things or going to touch things at various crime scenes. Why would you do that? It's basic crime math that you don't touch anything at a crime scene lest you accidentally incriminate yourself. I mean, like, it's fine, but don't do that. That's just a tip for any budding criminals watching this. Do not touch anything at the crime scene. Just no. Stop that. Overall, I think Hollow in the Land is a fairly decent piece of cinema. I wasn't blown away by it, but I also quite enjoyed it. Its strengths definitely lie in its unique and refreshing portrayal of not only a female protagonist, but a lesbian protagonist too. Of course, if you're a fan of Dianna Agron or just a lesbian, one and the same, huh? I also think this film is worth watching, not just because of the visuals, but you know, it's quite a cool piece of representation. So, okay guys, if you've seen Hollow in the Land, let me know what you thought of it down in the comments section below. Don't forget to subscribe for instant disappointment, and I'll see you guys soon. Bye!